Captain Logan, and welcome to another collection stream. Tonight, it's my, third part, fourth part? Fourth part, goodness, of my entire comic book collection. And yeah, I've got too many comics. I'm going to show you every single one of them. But I got to tell you guys, I don't know if I should even reveal this. I discovered, because I just wasn't looking close enough at the numbers before, that on my app, my database app, my real number, and I don't know if everything is in there. It's possible I'm missing a few things. I'm going to check that some as we go through this. I'm not going to stop everything and make you guys wait on me, but I'm gonna make sure after the fact that everything is logged. But I'm pretty sure most of it is there. But barring a few issues here and there that maybe are not logged in my comic app, I do not actually own exactly 10,000 comics. I keep saying that now. I keep throwing that number around. I keep saying I have a collection of 10,000 comics, and I'm a little over 500 of that off, and it just makes me feel like a complete fraud. Now, one time I had at least that many, because I sold all my Spawn comics, as I've told you guys. I sold my whole Spawn collection, and I have had in my possession as many as 20,000, at least 15, but I think as many as definitely as many as 20, because I at one time had inventory of at least 10,000. When I was working in, or had my own flea market booth and selling on eBay some. So I have had that many in my possession, but at this very moment, I do not have 10,000 comics. And I'm not spending a lot of money on myself right now. I had kind of a crazier year earlier, and I'm kind of leveling off, and I'm not spending a lot right now. So there is a part of me that really wants to just jump on eBay and get some random lots and try to kick it up to 10,000. I'm not going to do that right now, but by the time I'm finished with showing you guys all these boxes, I might try to get it to that number finally. So anyway, I'm a total complete fraud. So I'm going to show you guys every issue of the 9,900 and some odd comics that I own. And when last we met, I took you through all of the Cassandra Cain Batgirl that I have, or at least of the first volume. I was looking at this box for a second before I started tonight, and did not realize or didn't remember that there was in fact a second volume of that book that was just a mini-series, I think. And there's another one that's actually about to start, which I hope is really cool, because as you guys know, I love Cassandra Cain. And I had a lot more of that series of the first volume than I realized it did. Spider-Fan, you are at the moment the only person in the chat. Hopefully we get some stragglers, we get some other folks here a little bit later, and I've been starting these streams a lot later lately, but today I happen to be able to start a little bit earlier at 10:30 my time, so we'll see if folks pop in, and we'll see how far I can get and how long I end up streaming tonight. But anyway, let's go ahead and just get right into the rest of this second box, and I want to say we'll get to the third box tonight. I've got it sitting here in case that happens. I'm not going to go through any other random piles or anything tonight like I have been. I'm just going to get into the alphabetical boxes and just understand that there is some stuff, as I keep saying, disclaimer, that's not filed that you might see later on. So it's possible that we'll hit some series that you're not seeing every issue of, and we'll hit some of that a little bit later in the back end. But anyway, let's finish up the Batgirl, shall we? I hope everybody's had a wonderful weekend. Give me a second to grab a stack here, because I'm a little concerned about losing my place. So we are about to finally get into the Batman stuff after the rest of Batgirl. There's still more Batgirl than I expected here, but anyway, here is the first annual for Cassandra Cain Batgirl. This is the 2000 annual, Batgirl annual number 1, and I've never read this. I have no idea what's in this, and as I said before, a lot of Cassandra Cain Batgirl I've not read. Jason has read close to half of it now, I think. and just absolutely adores it. And maybe at some point, he and I will try to do a deep dive into that. Introducing Aruna. Aruna Matata. Yeah, she looks real memorable. I'm sure she comes back, a lot. You've never met anyone like her. I don't know. She looks like a pretty generic 90s looking kind of, Silver Sable-esque character, but who knows what that character is like? I'm not going to find out right now. Okay, back in her own series, it's Batgirl #1. So this is that second volume for Cassandra Cain that I told you about by Adam Beechin. I forgot he wrote this. This is September of 2008. Of course, the months are always lying to you. They always come out 2 or 3 months before what that actual month says, but that's a cool cover. I like that a lot. Adam Beechin is a neat guy. I interviewed him real early on in my YouTube career, and hopefully you guys can hear me okay. My levels look kind of off. Let me check here. How am I sounding? Everybody hear me? I've been having issues with this lately. I keep complaining about this, but it's either way too loud or way too soft, and I don't know if it's this mic. I don't know if I need to change my setup, but I'm having issues with it. Anyway, apologies, folks. But yeah, Adam Beechin did the Batman Beyond revival around this same time, like a year or two after this, and then Batman Beyond just kept going. Eventually, during New 52, or was it Rebirth? Jurgens took that over, and so several different writers have been on that now. But Adam Beechin is the guy that brought it back, and I was really adoring what he was doing with that back in the day. So yeah, interesting that that's him, because that means that if I bought, well, I was going to say if I bought this when it came out. This is '08, so I wouldn't have. I wasn't buying new comics quite yet. But I was going to say if I had been buying that then, I wouldn't know who Adam Beechin was. I might have gotten this later on, seeing his name, or just because I like this character. I'm really not sure. But I don't think I've ever read this. And I don't know if I have all of it. Let's see. It looks like I do, though. So here is the second issue of this. Another really generic-looking female character that nobody remembers and probably has not really come back, who is Marquis. I don't know. Do you know? Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Here is Batgirl #3, Family Secrets. I know there is so some stuff starting to come back to me, and I don't know if it's from this series or somewhere else. But if memory serves, there's some stuff with her father that was revealed at some point that I wasn't real keen on. Maybe it was here. I'm forgetting now. Anyway, we're not reviewing this stuff today. I've not read this stuff. I'm just going through the collection and showing you what I have. Batgirl #4, Down to the Wire, but not for the story, because it's only the 4th issue of a miniseries. But it's literal C4 explosives. That's a really fun cover. She's standing in a pit of C4, which is unfortunate. And then this is weird. This looks like Batman and Robin art from Grant Morrison. Batgirl #5 with Tim Drake, and just before he's Red Robin, I think, and Nightwing's there, and Batman is kind of choking her out. There's a part of me that wants to sit down and read this, but I probably should, go back and read the whole original series. And then here is #6 of that series. These covers are kind of hit and miss. Some of this art is cool, some of it's not, and it's weirdly sort of inconsistent. I don't know if it has multiple covers or what. And then we get into New 52 Batgirl, which I don't have much of. I did not care for at least the start of this run, and I complained about this back when it came out, of course, but this was Gail Simone. Like a lot of writers during this period, she seemed, maybe she really wanted to do this book, but she seemed sort of assigned to this and was given some mandates that maybe she wasn't excited about. I don't want to put words in her mouth or anything, but I never liked the angle of editorial has said, Batgirl has to get her legs back finally. She's not Oracle anymore, and we don't retcon anything. We don't start over. It's not part of the it's not part of the reboot thing or anything. It's a miracle, and she gets her legs back. Great. But anyway, this was the zero issue of that. But there was some really cool stuff in this later on with the Joker that I was actually really impressed with. There's a super controversial cover. I didn't understand why it was controversial, but that I'm pretty sure I have. And from a story arc on this that I actually really liked quite a bit. But I do have the number one for that. Let's look this up on price charting just for the fun of it, because I imagine some of the new 52 number ones might book a little bit now. Let's find out. So, Batgirl number one. It'll take me a minute to find this because there are several volumes of this, of course. So, 2011. And that miniseries that we just looked at would have only been a couple years before this, of course. Okay, so once again, these are graded prices, so keep that in mind. This is if we were to grade it. But yeah, not worth a ton. Ungraded, it's $10. If I had a 9.2, do I think this looks that good? No, but I mean, it looks decent. If I were to grade this, get it graded, this would be worth probably $25-30. So not a big deal or anything, but I mean, certainly, you're buying stuff in 2011, you don't really expect it to necessarily book for anything. And people collected the new 52 number ones like crazy. I mean, they sold extremely well for DC, where people had to have every single one of them. And then it was interesting to see which books tanked and which ones kept going, because a good number of them, they retired early and went for a second wave of new 52 books. And then here is the prologue for Death of the Family. That's what it was. It was the Death of the Family tie-in. And this is not the, of course, controversial cover in question, but we were really obsessed right then with and it was super creepy, certainly, but Snyder did the ripped off Joker face that he tied back onto his real face, and then we did the thing with Joker's daughter and all that, and it was awful. But yeah, I'm not sure right off why I bought this, unless I got just a lot of the Death of the Family tie-ins. But like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the initial setup and premise for this book, so I don't know why I felt the need to get that. But I assume I was invested enough in Death of the Family that I got some of the tie-in stuff, and that's why I ended up with these. So this is issue 15 and 16, and I always like these covers, and there's some really haunting, creepy stuff that happens in these issues, and I remember liking that stuff actually quite a bit. The one I'm thinking of is not here, and so I'm not sure what that was, but I remember there being a really controversial cover with Joker, like grabbing her, strangling her, something. I can't remember, but I'm not seeing that here. So, I'm going off of very, very old memory now. And long enough back that there's a banner at the top of number 17. I guess this arc went for at least 3 issues. Or maybe I just bought the next one, like liking those two enough, and then I bought the next one, which didn't have anything to do with that. Probably, I would assume. But anyway, there's a banner at the top of this for the new hit series Arrow. That's how far back this goes, which in some ways feels like a lifetime ago, and in other ways feels like last Tuesday. Getting older is weird. And then I guess I bought a couple more of these even. Here he is, number 23. Sometimes I don't know why I have the things I have. Like, because I would have bought these as they came out and read them, and I don't totally know why I did that. But I've got 23 and 24, so Wanted Part 1 and 2. I'm not totally sure what the story arc was or why I got it. But the covers are nice. Real moody. And then we go back a little while, so this honestly is probably not where this should be filed. But this is an annual from 1988. I'll look this up and see what this is worth. Actually, it's not an annual, it's a special. But this is Batgirl Special number 1 by Randall Kitson and Patterson. And I like this Batgirl outfit. quite a bit. That's neat. And she wouldn't have had a monthly back then. So this would have been one of those characters that you would occasionally get a one-shot for like this, but it didn't have a regular book. And Catwoman didn't either until a couple of years after this. But let me go ahead and look that up. I'm curious about it. And this looks like a thing I bought a little bit more recently at a flea market. And by more recently, I mean probably within the last 10, 15 years. But not something that I had growing up. Because I got a lot of books from this era at flea markets when I was a kid. But this is one I got a little bit later, it looks like, just from the tags on this. But apparently I bought this for $9. Let's see what it's worth now. So if I got this graded and it was in really, really good shape, $48. So mine is probably, if I were to grade it, worth closer to that 37 for the 8.0, I would imagine. So it looks like I paid an okay price for this. It says ungraded $6.20. So maybe I overpaid by a couple of bucks, but not too bad. But that is a neat cover. I'm always kind of having conversations with my earlier self, not remembering doing things, and I'm going, yes, I approve, older me or younger me. I get why I bought this, and I feel vindicated buying these things as an adult because even in 1988, this felt the need to let us know that DC Comics aren't just for kids. I don't know if you can see that. Got all washed out for a second. And next up, we get to... Oh, that's right. I forgot there was a series called Batgirl Birds of Prey. That's so weird. It's not even Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Like, maybe that's what the book is supposed to be called, like, technically. But anyway, this was from Rebirth, and I forgot that's what we did with Birds of Prey. What I tended to do with newer Birds of Prey books is I would buy the first few issues and get bored with it very quickly and then give up on it. Beyond the original run, I've not read all of that, but I've loved what I've read. I've read probably a quarter to half of it, and I don't tend to be real impressed with later Birds of Prey. But anyway, this is J and S Benson, and I'm not even sure who the girl is toward the bottom. So we've got Batgirl there in that really famous, popular outfit that I was never a big fan of. I don't know why people were so obsessed with that. I guess because it just looks sort of makeshift, and that's neat to people. I don't know. I never really got what the fuss was about with that outfit. I guess I'm more traditional. I like a more old school purple or black Batgirl costume. And this is purple, but just the kind of leather look was never really my thing. And then we got Huntress there, and I'm not sure. Is that Black Canary? She's got the fishnet, so I guess it should be. I guess it must be, but just these faces are kind of odd. So for a second, I wasn't even sure if that was Black Canary, but I think it is. Now I feel dumb, but in my defense, she's got like beach blonde hair, bleach blonde hair. That's hard to say, and a weird looking face. So it took me a minute. But anyway, so that is Rebirth, Batgirl, the Birds of Prey #1, and let's see how long I bought this. Here's #2. I'm surprised I bought it this far. I don't like the art on these covers at all. I don't remember what these stories were like. And I bought #3. And I probably just put it on my pull list and then forgot to take it off long enough. I ended up buying more of it than I wanted to. That would happen sometimes. Then we get to Batgirl Year 1 by Scott Beatty and Chuck Dixon. And I want to say I maybe even reviewed this at some point. I don't remember very much about the story now. I think I liked it okay. But I remember getting these when I was, again, when I had the flea market booth. And I think maybe I sold a set and kept a set. I forget. But these covers are really cool and very eye-catching. I like these kind of single-colored backgrounds with just like one character in the front. That's kind of neat. How much of this did I keep? Because I think this was just a short mini, like a short mini series. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like 5 or 6 issues. But anyway, so I've got #1 here. And then here's #2. This is the cover that always sticks with me. That's the one I really remember. reminds me a little bit of, and Connor would kill me because I just can't think of his name right now, but the artist New Frontier. And then, no, it looks like I have all of these. I was thrown off for a second. I thought maybe this was a different series because they didn't keep with the single colored backgrounds for some reason. I figured they would all look like that. But anyway, there's number 3. Now I want to go back and reread this because I don't remember much about it right now. There's 4. There is number 5, Batgirl Year 1. There's something very Bruce Timm-esque to me about this cover in particular. And then here is number 6. Oh, maybe it was longer. Maybe this was a 12-issue maxi. And now I'm seeing dates. This was from 2003. A little later than I remembered. I thought this was like 99 or 2000. Yeah, very animated series inspired. Some of this art. Greetings, folks. If you're just joining me, I'm going through all of my comics. We're the bees right now. And I'm trying to get through Batgirl, and this will be the last Batgirl issue. So I have through number 9, and I would just have to look this up to see if this was just 9 issues. It's a really weird number, but it may have been. I just don't remember. I was starting to think maybe it was 12, but maybe it is just 9. This is neat, too, just the way she's holding her cape down. I like that a lot. Just very elegant and simple covers. I love those. They're wonderful. Okay, now we're going to get into Batman, and this will be just the main Batman title, not to be confused with Detective. And I have more early Detective, if memory serves, than I have of early Batman. So there are going to be a few cool older covers here, and we'll want to do a little bit of price charting. Actually, let me look up those, or at least that first issue of Batgirl Year 1, because I'm curious real quick. I'm not seeing it right away. Weird. So I'm wondering if maybe it was listed as another volume of just Batgirl, or how exactly you have to look that up. But I'm not finding it right away, so I guess we'll just move on. But now we're going to get into Batman proper, and we're going to be in the Batmans for quite a while. Again, we talked about this with Avengers, but the way I have my collection set up, and I'm not super consistent. I will have some mistakes in the order of this, but by and large, what I tend to do is I list all of the books in a property or for a major character altogether. So Detective won't be in the D's, it will be in with Batman. But Batman will start with the just singular, simple Batman title, even though Detective comes first chronologically. So we'll be in Batman for a while, and then I think like Batman Confidential will probably be right after that. So it'll be through the alphabet. So there will be a bunch of different Batman titles, and we'll probably be in Batman for at least a couple of streams, if not 3 or 4. But let's go ahead and start looking at these. So this is Batman number 0. And then right after this, we'll jump much further back in time. And this would have come out in, what, 94? This is a Doug Mensch cover, and this is one that always sticks with me. This is from around 0 Hour, and I think that's what that logo up in the corner suggests. This is tied into that, or just while that is happening. And this is the beginning of tomorrow. I don't remember right off what the story is. I know I've read this, but it's been a good long time. And it's just a real cool, dramatic, like typical Batman pose. That belt is a little weird. Maybe it's just the way the light is hitting it. And then we go way back in time. So this one is odd, and I will look this up. But this has not always been the easiest thing to price. This is Batman number 123, but it is the Pizza Hut Collector's Edition. So I think this was a reprint of this that is still pretty old, but doesn't go back, of course, as far as actual 123 would. I don't think, but let me look this up real quick and see if we can get a price for it. Or a value, I should say. Okay, so here's Batman 123. So this issue would have originally come out in 1959. And the Pizza Hut Collector's Edition, oh good, it did come up on price charting, is from 1977. So this is nothing like the oldest Batman issue I own, of course, because 1977, it's not that far back. I do have quite a bit of stuff from that period. But I think when I got this, and I got this when I was a kid, so this was an earlier thing that I found at a flea market or something, and I think I thought it was older than it is at that time, and so it seemed like a cooler get. But let's see what this reprint is worth. So ungraded, it's 1151, and a 9.8 has gone for 200. But in between, there aren't any graded ones on record. So it's hard to say what exactly this is worth, but I would imagine if I wanted to sell it, I could probably get maybe 20 or 30 bucks for it. I mean, it says ungraded 1151, so like maybe I would have to get it graded, and it's got a bit of a crease in the middle of it, but I bet it's worth a little bit better than that 10 11 bucks. And then, now I will say I have an oversized, I say oversized because I think it's Golden Age, and so Golden Age books were a different format. The size was different than silver, and then I think even bronze is a different size, and so it's not in this box because I don't think it fits right. I'm not sure where it is right now. I think it's maybe on top of a shelf back here. So at some point I'll try to find it and show it to you. But I have a Batman book that goes back to, I want to say 46 or 47, and it's not in great shape, but it's just cool to have one that old. And it must be the oldest thing in my collection. And I think my dad found it for me like 3 or 4 years ago now. So this will not be the oldest Batman book in my collection, but it will be the oldest of its era. So this is, 131, okay. And this is not a reprint. So this 123 would have only been, if this was real, if this was actually from 50, whatever we said, 57, 58, this is actually a little bit older than that. And this is not a reprint, and in shockingly good shape. And I actually kind of forgot I had this. I think, so I've got some detectives from this period also, and we'll look at those when we get there. But, and I think I might have told you guys about this in a previous stream, but I found a guy in Topeka that had a bunch of books he was selling out of his living room, and my dad met him and just in his, kind of junking adventures, and he called me up and invited me over, and I got a pretty good number of, I think I probably spent $300 or $400 with him, and I bought enough that he was giving me these at $10 a pop, which was just really cool and kind of absurd for how good a shape. I say absurd. It was a good deal for the shape they're in. This book being as old as it is, it's crazy that the color looks as nice as it does and that it doesn't have a lot of spine damage. So this will slow us down. Maybe we won't get past this box tonight because I will look each of these up individually. So Batman 131. I just had to look at it again. Okay, I said that other one was supposed to be 57 or 58. This is 1960. So I'm not sure what the deal is with the discrepancy with that. We're not quite in the 50s. We're to 60 now. So ungraded, let me go ahead and show you guys this. So this is worth a little bit. Ungraded, this is a $61 book. if this might be one to consider getting graded because I don't know what the grade would be, but I think it would probably be close to that 6.0, that fine, somewhere between very good and fine, which means if I got this graded, it might be worth somewhere between 75 and 190. And if I somehow miraculously had a 9.2, this is a $2,000 book. So as I've said before, I never mean to make a ridiculously big deal out of having super valuable comics and like, look at me, aren't I amazing? I've got these valuable comics, but it's just neat to see what they're worth now versus what maybe they were when I got them. And it's always fun to have a book, even if it's not in the best of shape, that if it would be worth that. I always get a kick out of that. And I've said that before, but I'm just throwing that disclaimer in because I guess I get a little bit self-conscious about making too big of a deal out of value because I don't want to encourage people. The reason I say that is not just about, I'm worried about bragging too much. I mean, part of this exercise, I guess, is sort of bragging. I'm showing you guys, look at all these neat things I have that I've been amassing for years and years. But more of it is, I don't want to encourage people to look at this hobby too much as an investment. Because yes, I could sell all of this stuff and get a decent chunk of change, but I've been buying it forever. And if I had made too big of a deal out of an investment, I probably would have sunk more money into it than I would ultimately get a return on. Again, unless I just waited like an obscene amount of time. And even then, who knows? So like, it is very speculative, and I guess I'm harping on this too much, but I always just want to make sure that I'm encouraging people to be responsible with this kind of hobby. Do it because you think this stuff is really cool and not because you think you're necessarily going to put your kids through college on it. Having said that, if you get lucky enough that you do amass a collection that would put your kids through college and you really need that money, by all means. But anyway, so yeah, I own a book that if it was a 9.8 would be worth close to 10 grand. And that is just really neat to me. It isn't. Mine is probably worth closer to $100. But it is pretty cool. And mine is in really pretty nice shape for its age. This one doesn't look as good. This one actually does have some spine damage. I've always loved this cover. It just makes me laugh with Riddler with one eye closed. This is one I've had a little bit longer than that. But doesn't go back to childhood. I don't remember when I bought this. $179. So this is a little bit later than that. Now we're getting into TV show era. And again, I'm going to look at each of these up because they're older. Okay, this one is worth a bit less than that one, but still a decent value. So it looks like I paid $8 for this. And so ungraded, it's worth $40. So if I didn't grade this and I just went and sold it right now, I could probably get 30, maybe, I don't know, $30 for this. Very good. So a 4.0 is 105. And I don't think mine is even probably quite that good. It might be a 4.0. Yeah, look at this one. I mean, it's intact. It's not too scratched up. The color's really good. And I'm also not opening this to see what the back looks like or anything. So keep that in mind. I mean, I'm keeping it, in the Mylar back, but that might be a $100 comic. We're ready to get it graded. 6.0 at 257. And if I miraculously somehow had a 9.8 for this, that is a $5,000 book. So once again, it is neat to own a thing that if it was in immaculate shape, it's worth $5 grand. Okay, moving right along, here is Batman, and this one is not in even as good a shape as that last one, but this is a pretty famous cover with Batman and Robin watching the Batman TV show, which is a lot of fun. And Robin says, hotline call, Batman, let's get going. And Batman says, not tonight, kid. I'm staying in the Batcave to watch myself on television. And they've got the red bat phone. That's fun. I feel like Batman is really shirking his responsibility here, though. He should go and be a crime fighter and stop eating his popcorn and sitting back in his chair to watch himself on TV. He has too much of an ego. Oh, but the book itself is actually telling us that he's being a problem. Holy emergency. What's the real reason Batman is goofing off? The telltale clue is on this cover. Oh, what is that? Is it that... Is he drinking booze? Is that what it is? Because I thought that was soda. I don't know what the telltale clue is. Is it just because he's watching himself? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Anyway, let's look this one up because that'll be fun. What? I can't tell what number this is. Oh, it's 183. I wish these numbers were a little bigger from this period. And just with this book, I mean, every era, it's all over the place. There was never a consistent place to put that. And really to put any information on a comic cover, it always jumps around. But yeah, 183. Okay, so ungraded, it's a $30 comic. I paid $8 for it. Very good. 4.0, it's a $31 book. Very fine. It's $2.95, and it would be worth almost $3,000 if you had a 9.8. These things have gotten old and very collectible because it's paper and people throw things away and it's hard to keep them nice. And it's always surreal thinking about this because, I always think if I knew when I was a kid what I know now, I would have collected even more of this stuff. But I also, if you had the money, but I also think about that with retro games and all kinds of stuff that is just more valuable now than it used to be. But keep in mind that comics also, jump around a lot. So during COVID, just like with video games, there was a period where a lot of stuff seemed to be really, really skyrocketing, and then now it's kind of reeled in some. 186. This is a really weird cover with this kind of clown henchman Joker has that's covering Batman's eyes for some reason. A lot of really detailed, kind of realistic looking faces from this period. But anyway, this is a very goofy period for Batman. Not quite as silly as the 50s when he kept going to space and stuff. But the comics were really following suit with the TV show, and were already campier, but then once the TV show hit, you really had this attempt at kind of following the tone of that. But what I've read from that period, they don't tend to be as clever or tongue-in-cheek or satirical as the show was. But anyway, let's look this one up. 186. Oh, wow, okay. So, kind of holding steady at the same values we were seeing before. Ungraded, $24. If you were to get it graded, a 4.0 would be worth $60. This might even be a little better than... Nah, because there's some folds in the corner down here that I'm noticing. So this probably is around a 4 or a 5. So I bet this is a $60, $80 comic probably. 8.0 would be $352, and if you had a 9.2... a 9.8, it'd be worth $3,000. Actually, more Batmans from this period than I remembered I had. And I wasn't sure if all of this would be in this box because I had some of this displayed recently in a rack that I couldn't remember if I got filed back in the box, but it looks like I did. So there might still be some stragglers somewhere, I'm not sure. But anyway, let me grab another stack here real quick. I'm already seeing some cool major stuff after this as well. But we're going to stay in this 60s and 70s era for a bit. And now we get into the 80-page giants. It looks like I've got a few of these. I don't even remember some of this. This is 187, and so this is not a separate book. This is still in the same numbering, but we just made some much larger ones for a while, and the spines are here are better than I expected. Again, I'm not sure where I bought these. It might have been from that guy in his living room. I don't remember. But anyway, 187. I will continue to look these up just because I'm really curious with this period. So bear with me, and thanks for indulging me on this. Hi, Andrew Cassini. Good to see you, man. He says, I've heard other people say, he's just talking about, there are a couple of guys, I should have paid attention to this before I started reading it, talking about the boys earlier and whether those comics were any good. I don't have a dog in that, but somebody was mentioning that Vince said years and years ago that he didn't care for that comic series. And that was way, way before there was any inkling of a TV show, of course. But anyway, 187. Mine, I would guess, is once again within that 4.0 to 6.0 range, probably in the middle, probably like a 5. So I imagine if you graded this book, it's probably worth 50 or 60 bucks. So that's cool. And maybe I won't look up these other two because I don't know why they would be any very much different from that. So I'll just show you guys these and then I'll move on. But yeah, these were those kind of comics that had more kind of magazine looking covers than comic covers. And it'd be like you get, 6 stories and they're just advertising them in a real sensational way, going, here's all these really bizarre things that are happening. And here's Batman as a knight, and here's Batman on a horse. And Bruce Wayne is going to be the mayor, just the most kind of gimmicky concepts you could have for these kind of little filler stories that probably don't hold up at all, but maybe there's some fun stuff in these. And then we have another of these 80-page giants. This one is 198, and I actually like this cover a lot, with Batman holding the negative of a comic page, which makes it look kind of meta. So that's fun. This one's a little bit bent in the middle, but otherwise is in decent shape. So that's sort of unfortunate. I don't know if it's just because of how it was sitting in this box or another box, but that's not happening in any of the rest of these, it doesn't look like. Thank goodness. And then here is the 200th Smash issue. And this is also kind of a neat cover. It's got a bunch of other classic covers in the background of this. A lot of Dick Sprang stuff here. Or at least Dick Sprang looking stuff, but probably Dick Sprang. Let's look this one up. This one could book a little bit. Price Starting is taking its sweet time tonight. Okay, ungraded, that's a $40 book, and it's not in bad shape. It does have some spine creases, unfortunately, that don't look great. But if I were to get this graded, I bet it's around a $50, $60 book. And if you had a 9.8 somehow, miraculously, this is a $4,000 book. So that's pretty cool. Excited to have that in my collection. And now we're going to jump ahead a little bit. Well, not as far as I thought. But I think we're into the 70s now. Here is 268, and this is not in very good shape at all. But we're in this period where we still liked to put dialogue balloons on the covers a lot, but we're starting to look a little bit more gothic, a little darker. Batman is still in these going to have, pretty like generic and kind of stilted dialogue, but the books themselves are going to look a lot more moody, and the subject matter is going to be a little bit darker. So not a lot of like super street level crime drama, although there's some of that, but just more kind of spooky tales with Batman is that period. And then this is a neat cover. And I bought this apparently at a store called Up, Up, and Away. I can't remember where that was. And not one of the stores from the comic documentary trip. But anyway, this is in really great shape. This is Batman number. I keep telling you guys all about this before I even show it to you. But yeah, here's 279 with the Riddler. And I'm a stickler when I can get my hands on them for Silver and Bronze Age, particularly Riddler covers. And that's really pretty. And I am going to go ahead and look this one up real quick. I think I will attempt to finish this box, and then that's going to be it for me tonight. I was hoping to go ahead and get into the next one, but I'm looking a lot of stuff up, and I'm starting to fade a little bit, so I'm glad I started as early as I did, but get a little bit stopped up for whatever reason. Anyway, here is the price charting page for this one. So this is probably, and once again, as I keep saying, this would be if we graded it, but this is probably worth about $50, and ungraded, just $9. So it looks like I maybe overpaid a little bit for this, but it is in really nice shape. Hardly any spine wear at all. The color looks awesome. There's like a little nick at the top, but not bad at all. If you had a 9.8 for this, it's worth about $300. Okay, I'll move forward on this a little quicker here. Here is 282 with Batman versus I don't know, a tribesman, and then like a hunter guy, and like a Mountie maybe. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's like wax statues come to life. Like I have no idea why these characters in this weird garb are all after Batman, but they don't seem to have anything to do with each other. That strikes me as a very typical cover for that time. I've always loved this one. This is 283, and a friend of mine actually found this at a yard sale and sent me a picture of it and was like, oh no, I think actually she just bought it. And then it was a friend of mine, a lady that went to my Star Trek club, and I'm pretty sure that's this book. And she just bought it on a whim and thought I probably didn't have it. In fact, I didn't. But yeah, 283. So Batman is fighting some camouflaged enemy. I don't even know who the villain is for this. But I always loved that cover. And that's really neat. Okay, here's a really cool Scarecrow cover. I wish this was in better shape, but this is 296. And I don't know who was on this book at this point. I don't know if this is... I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know who... I would have to look that up. But anyway, let's go and figure out if that's worth anything real quick, even though it's not in the best of shape. Yeah, I wish this told us like who worked on the books, but it's just about the values. But yeah, ungraded, about $20, and a 4.0 would be worth about the same. Which is funny. So if you graded this, it wouldn't be worth any more than if you didn't grade it. And it looks like the cover might even have a little bit of water damage. I can't tell. So my copy's probably not worth very much at all. But a 9.8 would be a $400 book. Hi, Tyler. Good to see you, man. He says, "Have you been? It was really fun hanging out yesterday. Truly a dream come true." Well, that's so nice of you to say, man. I had a lot of fun chatting with you. He was at a hangout event that we had for the superhero rewind uh, patrons, and I'll just throw in a quick plug real quick for that. But the $10 tier is where you can get access to that. And we had, I don't know, 9 or 10 of us in a call last night, just kind of chatting about random, mostly superhero stuff, as you might expect, but all kinds of, but also like Stephen King came up. We talked about all kinds of things, and it was a lot of fun. Sometimes with the producers, we'll watch a movie or we'll have a topic, but the last couple times we've had a little bit too much time in between, and so we just kind of catch up. Batman number 313. Here's a classic Two-Face cover. The scarred side of the coin has come up. Then Two-Face strikes again, twice as deadly as before. So you can see we've already gotten really far away from the 60s, campier tone by this point. We're not going to look every single one of these up. We'll just keep going. Oh, we're about to get, though, to one of the earliest comics I ever bought, I think. But anyway, this is not one of those. I don't remember this at all. Here's 315. I'm actually, though, real quick, I'm going to see what the creative team was during this period. Let's see, Batman 313. Oh, Lin Wein. Okay. That's where we're at. Now, we might have had a number of different writers that were jumping around in this period. I don't know if Lin Wein had an unbroken run or if he came in and out a lot. I'm a little bit fuzzy. But this was 79. So, like, you're going to start getting, Denny O'Neil in, and, of course, Englehart is, I want to say just before this, but I'm very, very rusty, and a lot of this stuff I've never looked at, besides just the occasional the single issue. Starting to get some commenters. Good to see you guys. Andrew Cazzini, to your point, Cap, about the late 60s Batman comics being less sophisticated than the show. Yeah, they really were. I am reminded of a recent related statement on the matter by John Semper Jr. Oh, interesting. John Semper, who was the showrunner for the 90s Spider-Man show, and says all kinds of very funny things. But he says he finds TV writers to be generally superior to comic writers. Thoughts that... I would call that another kind of funny thing, honestly, that he's saying. But yeah, I mean, I guess all I'll say about that right now, that's a good Captain Logan show question. Is I don't typically agree with that. I also think that both kinds of writers can be held back by studios and editorial, of course, and have mandates that kind of tie their hands behind their backs, and you don't really get to see unfettered their real ability, their real talent. But there's throwaway, phoned in, just get the job done scripts that go to television, and especially for Saturday morning, which is where he was working. And you also get that with comics. And you get the other side of that for both of those. So no, I wouldn't agree with that at all. You're also talking about like comparing whole mediums to whole mediums. Like, that's a very strange thing, I think, for him to say. Like, you're talking the whole of comics and the whole of television. Usually TV is more sophisticated. I don't buy into that. If I had gun to my head, if I had to pit one up against the other, I would say their overall is probably more sophisticated writing in comics than there is in television. But I don't even like comparing them like that. But anyway, I just want to keep talking about that. Okay, Batman 315. Like I said, I don't even remember this cover, and I don't know who this guy is. Who's this other character? somebody that probably never showed up again, or that nobody would remember. It's like hang gliding chicken. It's very strange. Okay. Almost want to crack that open and see what happens in that. So this is a really early issue that I got, once again, in a flea market when I was a kid. This is Batman versus Crazy Quilt. This issue is the reason I know who Crazy Quilt is. And I want to think of him as another Clock King, as another of my favorite obscure Batman villains, but I don't know a ton about him. He does show up in Brave and the Bold, though, in the cartoon show, if memory serves. And this is number 316. I'm going to look this one up real quick just because I've had it forever and I'm curious. Also, to that John Semper thing, there are plenty of writers that cross back and forth, too. Anyway, ungraded, it's $10. Mine, if I had to just guess on the fly without actually cracking it open, is probably not much better than a very good. Once again, could be between a 4 and a 6, but I bet this isn't worth more than $10 as it is right now. And then I have... we're about to get into some pretty cool looking covers. Not this one as much, although I love the look of Batman's face here. This is... Okay. Oh, 318. It's if this is to be believed. Okay, so the number is written in pen on the Mylar bag, and the reason is because this is a weird Whitman release. So I have, and I want to say there's even some Marvel like this too. I might be wrong, and I don't know where I got this or why. But I do have some Whitman published books instead of DC, so it's exactly the same, except there's this other publisher that put their name on it and put it out instead. And I think I would have to look this up, but I think it's a Canadian publisher. So I can't say distributor because they actually print the book. So I think it's like a Canadian printer. I could be wrong about that. But I don't think it's English. I think it's Canadian. But I'll try to look that up later on and find out for sure. And I don't think that they're worth any more or less. We can look this one up real quick just because it's kind of interesting, and see if that actually pops up. And I don't think it exists for every issue. I think it's kind of hit or miss. But I don't know if I'm right about that for sure. Yeah, it looks like the Whitman book is worth a little bit more, because it makes sense that it would be rarer. But like by $5, and I only have an ungraded number for this. So $20, who knows what it would be worth if it was graded. There's not an example of it. Andrew Cazzini, they did have Marv Wolfman for the show, just saying, yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is Batman versus Firebug, which is interesting because that character shows up in... Yes, Spider-Fan, I understand that Canadians speak English. I mean Britain. But anyway, yeah, Firebug showed up in Cape Crusader in the recent animated series. And then this is a cover that I love. I also bought this at that Up in a Way store. I wish I could remember where that was. I don't right off. Or I don't know, is it possible? I was going to say, is it possible I bought these online and they came from that store that somebody else bought them? But I don't think, I mean, typically I buy these kinds of things in the wild, and so I really don't think I got it that way. But I don't tend to buy collectible comics sight unseen like this. Anyway, so 329, and this is this wonderful Two-Face cover, and just look how vibrant the colors are. This is an excellent shape. It looks great. A little bit of spine wear. It's not bad, and by wear I just mean like a couple little creases. But Batman is shackled in the courtroom, and Two-Face says, "The coin has spoken, Batman, and it finds you guilty." And in Two-Face's court, there's only one sentence: death. That's a really provocative cover. Who would look at this and not pick it up back in the day? That is great. I love that cover. That would go in my top, 50 Batman covers. Batman 347. You're really getting a sense of the social worries of the day here, with a lot of urban upheaval and riots and that kind of stuff. I don't remember this cover at all. I'm not sure when I got that. I said Englehart was before that. I think I'm wrong. I think this actually is maybe in part of that run, because this is 354, and this is Hugo Strange dealing with Boss Thorn. So this is within that run that Batman the Animated Series is directly adapting from and looking at real closely. And yeah, you had this period where we like to separate Bat and Man on the cover a lot. Which just makes that whole thing even more confusing, because Batman is typically not hyphenated or has a space between it, but then this series was doing that a lot. And then here is a Poison Ivy cover. I like this one a lot. Batman is buried in Poison Ivy, and you don't actually see her on the cover. You just see the actual plants, and it says a slight case of Poison Ivy. That's fun. So we're getting a lot of representation for a bunch of different Batman villains here, which is great. This one's neat. I really like the sense of perspective in this drawing, and I love how completely different. Once again, I'm describing it to you before I show it to you, but how completely different and eye-catching the title is. This is Batman 370, so we're getting into the late 80s here, mid to late 80s. Well, I say that. No, because we're about to come into year one here. So this would be, mid 80s. But anyway, so here is, like I said, 370. And just Batman and Robin up against this really big gang. And they got their backs literally to the wall. This is such an unusual looking and very, very sketchy, very gritty cover. I love that. And I don't know when I got that, but I always thought that was super cool. And then, is this the end of the Batman? Well, I don't know. You might have thought it here when his back was to the wall. But yeah, this is 380. And Batman is fighting some nondescript, creepy looking guy in a mask connected to the rest of his completely black costume. It's a cool, creepy, moody cover, but I don't think that guy is gonna ultimately be the one that defeats Batman. And Robin is tied to a chair. And then A Night in the Life of Batman. I guess it was not the end. Here's another one. 383. Weird. I don't remember this cover at all. A lot of variety in this period, though. It's really cool. And then here's a Calendar Man cover. This one I remember. And this book is in really great shape. This is 384. So this is June of 85. And yeah, we're about to start coming up into Miller stuff. And it looks like I have some of year one. I don't know how much. Weird. Okay. Yeah, I'm missing some of it. This is a real cool, again, I keep using the word moody cover with Batman in the rain. And for a second, I thought it was like snow and ice, because I thought he had like icicles coming off of him, but it's actually just water. And I was like Batman with a flashlight. He's being like he's doing very gritty detective work. He's just walking around with a flashlight. That's a cool cover. And now we get into Batman Year One, which I've always said I personally am a bigger fan of Dark Knight Returns. I love this story, and it always sticks with me a little bit better than Dark Knight Returns does. Even though, there's always some little surprises in it. I don't go back to it a ton, but anyway, I have 2 copies of of the first issue for some reason. So let me go ahead and look that up, because this would be a thing to sell at some point. These are, well, I say that. So one is newsstand and one is whatever you call it. I forget right now what was sent to comic shops. Like I said, I'm starting to fade a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to finish this box or if I'm just going to get through Year One here. But anyway, let me look this up, because I'm curious. I was going to say that might be a thing to sell or to do a giveaway for or something. Like, I don't know, do I have to have both of these covers? Like, it's the same cover. It's just one's got the barcode and one doesn't. I always thought it was weird that Year One was in the regular numbered order. And we'd never do that now. Like, a thing like this, I would either be a miniseries, or it would just be put out all together as a graphic novel, or you would make an anthology book and you'd start with something like this. Okay, being as important of a book as this is, it's not worth as much as I would have expected, to be perfectly honest with you. Ungraded, it's 13, and I paid, it looks like, if this price is to be believed, because again, I don't know what Up and Away is, but I or somebody paid 16 for this at some point. Ungraded, it claims to be worth 13, and if you graded this and you had a near mint copy at a 9.2, it's only worth 45, and a 9.8 is 167. So, not as highly sought after, not as hard to get as I might have believed. But having said that, it's one of my favorite Batman things, and one of these days I might consider giving away my other copy, because I don't really need both of those necessarily. Here's Year One, Part 3. So I've got 2 copies of one, but I'm missing 2, unfortunately. That's really irritating. And then... one second, folks. And then here's Part 4. Which is probably my favorite cover of these. Love the black and white. Love Gordon with the gun there. It's just wonderful. And now I'm going to go back and reread this. Look at what we've got here. And then we get into when the book was sort of renamed to The New Adventures. The numbering is kept the same. This is 411. But I tell you what, I'm going to get into these next time, I think, and we'll just stop at Year One and call it a night. I usually go a little bit longer than an hour, but I think I'm going to go ahead and cap it off there tonight. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Andrew Cazzini, all great points, Cap, talking about the, what are better writers, TV or comics. I mean, that's such an odd argument. Definitely is case by case. The context, I think, had to do more with, well, and context is key, certainly, with the comics out at the time. Okay, implying TV writers often have to clean up comic writers' mess in adaptation. There is some truth to that, particularly with Marvel in the 90s, but we're not really talking about a problem with medium so much as an issue with who's in charge at the time, who are they hiring, what, again, are the mandates, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you're talking about, and I was going to say if you're talking about Marvel in the 80s, it's a little bit of a different story. If you're talking about DC in the 80s and into the 90s, it's a different story. But it's also still case by case to some degree. And to be fair to that show, a lot of what they're adapting is like 70s and 80s stuff, but they jump up to the 90s with some things too. So it kind of just depends on what stories he's talking about. And just having said that, like, I fundamentally would disagree that the scripts with that show are any better or worse, really. It was certainly any better than a lot of the stuff they were adapting. So I don't know, just the idea that like they had to clean up stories. I don't know about that. I think that guy is famously, and like I don't want to be mean to him or anything. He seems like a nice enough guy, but John Semper is one of those guys that thinks pretty highly of himself and his writing. It seems like, but anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Appreciate you. And I will be back hopefully in a week to do more of this. We'll finish this box and get into the next one next time. But I need to get going. So I will see you guys real soon with lots more fun stuff this week on Geekvolution when I am hopefully a little bit more awake and coherent. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye, everybody.